Welcome. It is the Mac podcast of wrestling that's still nameless, as we are working now in the postseason, a wrap-up, and some exciting interviews to come. We've got myself, Joe Ludnowski, and of course, the color analyst for the Clarion Radio Network, John Stroup. As we get things fired up, we've got the Mac Coach of the Year and All-American, Will Feldkamp. Of course, that Mac Coach there being Keith Farrar. The Golden Eagles had a marvelous postseason. Will, I want to start with you. Does it yet get old being introduced as All-American Will Feldkamp?
Not quite yet. I'm still smiling ear to ear anytime somebody says congrats or, calls me an All-American. So not quite yet, but I got on the mat for the first time today in 2 weeks. So I'm ready to start training for next year's All-American title, so I can be called a two-time All-American.
That's right, Will. This is John. I just found out yesterday in our little get together we had yesterday, and that's exciting news for the Clarion fans. And what made your decision to really come back again next year? Talking with friends and family, and I got a great supporting cast of my girlfriend, my mom, and my dad, and I just thought I could give it one more shot and one more great opportunity to try to hopefully continue to climb the podium and wear that blue and gold singlet one more time. And I feel like I played a pretty healthy season this year, so I feel my body feels great, and I just think I still got more gas left in the tank, and thought I would regret not stepping on the mat ever again. So, right,
yep.
Keith, I want to ask you a question. Obviously, we know what the lineage of Clarion wrestling has been. I think we would be remiss if we didn't address what rock bottom was, because rock bottom was not that long ago. Coach of the Year, would you finish 27th overall? You got an All-American. You inherited a job from an odd set of circumstances. We don't need to go down that road, but where you're at now in, early April 2023 versus where you were 5 years ago, have you exceeded, met, come up short of the expectation?
That's a great question. I mean, you always have to have high expectations. So at times, even though you're improving, you're still falling short of the goal you set for yourself. But, the ultimate goal is just gradual improvement over time. And it looks a lot like a stock. You don't buy a stock that skyrockets without ever dipping. You buy a stock that is gradually going upward, and it may go down for a day and it may go up again the next day. But generally, you're looking for that growth, and that if you could graph the improvement of our program, I want it to look like a good, healthy stock that's continuing to grow. And I think we're doing that. We've done it. I mean, that doesn't mean we're not going to have roadblocks in the future, and that doesn't mean, we're not going to be surprised by success at times where, we didn't see it coming. But, generally, we're trying to get a little bit better. I say 1% better every day. And it really feels good when you see it in the results like we did at NCAAs.
Yeah, well, it was exciting there, and I do want to mention, because you had two other wrestlers there, and both of them also had victories during the tournament. And what was your take as far as how did you get them ready, knowing that they were definitely lower seeds and had a long way to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the nature of just the conference we come out of. It's hard to get there, and that's the truth. And it's hard to get a high seed. You got to really earn it during the year. I mean, you really have to prove it. And in like Will's case, he was able to do that throughout the year and got a pretty decent seed. But maybe as big of a takeaway from the NCAAs as Will placing is just seeing those other guys be so competitive. And when you take a guy who maybe is ranked in the 30s or seeded in the 30s at the tournament and he wins matches or a match even, in Kaleno's case, it really feels great because it validates that they belong there. And if sometimes there's a belief in those guys that are ranked in the 30s that well, they snuck through or whatever. But in our case, they both proved that they belonged there and got a win, at least one win, and that felt really good.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Now, Will, I got to ask, I'm not going to lie. I think I've seen Aaron Brooks wrestle just about every match the last handful of years. I mean, you gave him more than most. And when I mean more than most, I mean more than just about anybody. What was your mindset? Obviously, when you get to wrestle a guy that's the defending national champ, eyeballs are on you. But looking back at that match, it kind of felt like you were the one that was playing with house money, and you just looked really free. And I don't want to say empty the tank, but you took Aaron Brooks to the wire, which not many have been able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've wrestled national champs before. I wasn't nervous going into it. Like you said, like he had everything to lose. If I lose, it's like he's expected to. But if I do something crazy, or if I just wrestle as well as I know I can and beat him, he's got everything to lose in that case. But I was just going out there to have fun. I wasn't really scared. It was just another wrestling match. Coach Gear and Farrar were in my corner just telling me, like, get to my ties, move them, and have fun out there, and good things happened. And, I felt like I was pushing around the mat a little bit, and a couple things go my way maybe, but it could be a different match. But, I just going out there having fun and just believing in myself, really.
Well, I've always been impressed with you. You show no fear with your throws. And there's definitely true. And even in your consolation matches with Coleman, you threw him and just couldn't clamp it up in that first period. But you really showed that you know how to throw. Are you really refining those as you go along?
Yeah, definitely. Just, that's time in the practice room. Like, you get that stuff. You just got to not be afraid to do it, one, and two, to fail, because I get put in my back all the time in the room. And honestly, it's practice. Like, that's where you're supposed to try things and tinker things. And sometimes people get in their head that they got to win every single practice or every single go, but it's all about getting better and just, trying different things, and got to tinker and play with stuff. So that's where that comes from.
Always exciting to watch, that's for sure.
Keith, obviously you've, as we sort of touched on, you've taken Clarion a couple steps. Obviously, we talked the last time we chatted about what, having Dakota gear in the room, what that does. But now that you've had this, success, and obviously, you're flying high, you've got the individual accolades, the team accolades. Well, and I know we can't get into names, but you're on the recruiting trail. What have you done for me lately? Are different caliber wrestlers starting to field your phone calls?
Yeah, I mean, there has not been any voila moment at any point. There's a lot of things that have happened over time that have been gradual improvements. Our facility is obviously a big one. Will being an All-American this year is a big one. The addition of different coaches always helps. And you mentioned Coach Gear. That's big for when you recruit upper weights. But it's just, it's like the stock market thing. It's been a gradual progression, and the better you get, the more receptive great guys are. And that's, like it or not, recruiting high caliber athletes is the number one thing to make you better. And it is very important, and everything that you do impacts that. So, yeah, I mean, and we have talented guys coming in this year that I'm excited about. I never make predictions about incoming guys. And the reason is you don't know how they're going to respond. Sometimes there's a guy in the class that, is kind of not that noteworthy, and he comes out and has a great freshman year. And then you have the superstar that's supposed to come in and change your program, and sometimes they don't. So you got to see, this is just me personally talking. I want to see how they do before I get too amped up and start making predictions about our incoming guys.
Yes, that as you mentioned class, and then what I want to mention differently is, and Will is included in this. You had 8 MAC academic honors. That's impressive. Of the 10 wrestling, you have 8 going on and get those honors. That's a nice honor. I know Mr. Staub has done a lot of job, but it seems like you put an emphasis on that as much as anything too.
Yeah, it's cultural. A lot of people think it's about what they're doing academically. It's more about the way they're living, in my opinion. And that, Ken Staub is our faculty mentor, and he kills it. He is great at what he does. And the biggest thing he expects them to do is act like men and act like professionals. And when you expect that from people, they start living that way, and that leads to academic success because they're reliable people that do what they're supposed to do. And that happens when just, instead of, I'll give you an example. When I first took the job, I would hear guys walk in the locker room and they would joke about, man, I bombed that. I was not ready for that quiz or whatever. And they'd be like laughing about it. And then, you fast forward 10 years and you have guys arguing about who thought they did better on the quiz, that they just took in the same class, and like, nah, I guarantee I beat you, and so just think about what that does over the course of just daily banter and around the team and the locker room. When that conversation changes in that way, it makes a fundamental difference in your culture, and you've seen it, and that, like, our grades are really just a product of that, in my opinion.
Well, I want to ask you this, and I think this is a good place to close. You have a year left. It's one thing to be an All-American in your last year, but once you're an All-American, you got to be a repeat All-American. Has that set in yet? The old adage, if that much is that good, that much more must be that much better. I mean, the sort of dumbed down part, like, now that you're an All-American once, now the work starts. I mean, you got to be a two-time All-American now, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's why I'm coming back. I think I can climb that podium. I think I can be standing at the top of it next year. And so, you're right. The work starts today. Like, I'm all in. I'm talking with Coach Gear later this week to figure out a plan for the summer and start getting in that weight room, getting a little stronger, and just, having the best season of my life and, another great wrestling season here in Clarion. So I'm just super excited. I'm trying not to think about, March quite yet. We just got into April. So, next March time will come. So I'm just trying to enjoy the moment now still, but definitely the hard work is going to start here soon. But, in a blink of an eye, I'm sure the season is going to be winding down next year around this time. And, hopefully then I'll be being able to call myself a two-time All-American, but you're right. It's a lot of hard work, and it's not going to come easy, and I don't expect it to or don't want it to, because I know everyone's going to be coming for me next year, and that excites me a little bit. It's going to make me want to work that much harder, so I'm just real excited overall.
Well, congratulations to you, Will, on All-American status, and to you, Keith, for the MAC Conference Coach of the Year award.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Congratulations, guys. Terrific work. Good stuff as we wrap things up with Clarion. The Golden Eagles really starting to find some momentum as we get here into the offseason. All-American Will Feldkamp and, of course, the MAC Coach of the Year, Keith Farrar. Appreciate the time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Rolling along here as we continue to wrap up an exciting wrestling season. Scott Moore, head coach of Lock Haven, joining us. Anthony Noto, the MAC Wrestler of the Year, will join us momentarily. But Scott, Anthony, obviously the storyline, finished fourth, some heroics. What's it like in that spot? Is it harder as a wrestler or harder as a coach when you know what's on the line and after the Lee loss, there's so much work yet to be done? Who's in charge of morale in that situation?
They stay very optimistic, but also just reset the tone after a tough loss, and getting these guys to continue to believe, the original goal that they set for themselves. And in his situation, it was a quick turnaround. You lose to obviously number one seed, and you got to come back and win a match. But knowing that you're in a position to become an All-American, and it's really going to take 7 minutes of hustle. So it was, with him all year, just staying positive, a little bit of a game plan, knowing what you had to do to win the match, but just keeping the perspective and being grateful for that opportunity, and just wanting them to open up and put their best effort out there. You can't control the result, you just control the effort. So that's is essentially what the message was moving into that last match.
Well, obviously, when he wrestled the number one wrestler in the quarterfinals, he really gave it his all. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When he had that tilt, you thought maybe there's something coming. And what was your thinking at that time?
Well, we knew that if he could stay in the match, that he had a little bit more fight in the end. Unfortunately, he gave up that takedown in the first 45 seconds, and
Right.
which culminated in 2 turns for Spencer. But our strategy was to try to be elusive and hand fight and be tough the first 2 minutes. And if we could keep the match close, we thought that based on watching him previously and conditioning, and that the match would come down to the third period. But yeah, he when he was on top, the message was keep making work hard, try to get some points, and he got a great turn across his tilt on him, and then a couple other times, almost had a few situations with a Turk and a reverse half, and so it was just
Right.
Continue to believe through 7 minutes. That's all you can do, no matter what the score is. Wrestle through it and try to make something happen. But yeah, he wrestled a good match, and I think that actually he learned a little bit from that match, knowing that, hey, I got to open up earlier. I got to be more persistent early to score, and that's exactly how he wrestled the rest of the tournament. Just confidence and just gritty. Not giving up a whole lot of points, but taking advantage of scoring situations, staying in a good stance, fighting through every position. He didn't, if you look at the tournament, he didn't give up anything easy the whole time, never quit fighting. And, in the end, that resulted in a gritty 4th place finish.
Scott,
Right.
what's it like on the floor? I mean, there was a lot of upsets early. What's it like? What's that feel like? I mean, even if it's nothing, it's not a match you're not, a part of, or, you just hear the sort of the crescendo. What's that energy like on the actual floor at the NCAA tournament?
Well, you're coaching, in the match, his All-American match. He's wrestling Peterson from Rutgers. But at the same time, you have Spencer Lee and Ramos out there in the semis, and it's just a lot of noise, a lot of excitement. It's really just staying tuned on what your task at hand is, rather than getting caught up in everything else that's going on. But when you don't have guys wrestling, you start to kind of watch around, and you just realize that it's anybody's game and anybody can make it happen. And you have to believe, and you have to go out there with the intention of winning the match, with the belief that you're as prepared and confident as anybody in the tournament. And we've seen that year after year. Anybody can win at any given time. So the most dangerous guy is the one that has nothing to lose, that has the utmost confidence that they can beat anybody in the tournament. That was Noto's belief system going in. He knew that he would get Spencer Lee had he win his first 2 matches, and he believed that he could beat him. And even in that second match, and when watching film, he had a good strategy, and it worked. So just finish the match strong is the key. And he was able to do that against Barnett from Wisconsin, which put him in that big matchup with Lee. So yeah, awesome energy on the floor, a lot of upsets, but the mindset that anything can happen, and why not make it your day? Why not be the one that everybody's cheering for?
Exactly. Now, you're looking for the future, especially when you have 2 other wrestlers that went, to nationals, weren't quite as successful, but they got experience. How do they add to what they're doing in the next year?
Just fine tuning, continuing to work and enjoying the process, but working on the mental part, working on the physical part. But both guys, they didn't wrestle bad in the tournament, but there's some small takeaways. But having the opportunity is key. Being there amongst the crowd, amongst the elite, going to prepare them for the next opportunity. So Strickland, Stoltzfus, both have 2 more years left, and both are very capable of getting on the podium themselves. And but yeah, it's a maturity process. Some guys get to that level quicker. Some guys, they have to adopt the mindset, and they have to touch a few of the technical points. But yeah, certainly excited for those guys and some of the other guys in our program that were real close to making it, and really got a good lineup coming back next year. A lot of good leadership, But, returning with an All-American in the squad and multiple national qualifiers is going to, I think, build our room up and allow us to do some really special things for 23-24.
Now, your non-conference scheduling was insane this past year. Penn State, NC State, Ohio State, West Virginia. Are you trying to destroy your career win percentage? Is that going to be the plan for next year too? Like, what's your schedule look like?
Yeah, this year it was fun. It was challenging. It's sort of the opportunities to wrestle good teams popped up, and we didn't want to turn them down. So, we believe that you're as good as the competition you wrestle. And, early on we saw some challenges, but ultimately it prepared our guys for the opportunities at the MAC tournament. I think most importantly, those guys were prepared. They realized I had wrestled so much of the high level of competition that the MAC was just just part of that process. And, but yeah, we'll see the next year's schedule starting to come together. We'd like to put at least 3 or 4 top 15 programs on the schedule. Last year worked out well with Penn State and NC State going back-to-back days, which was a big challenge. Leaving Penn State at 9:30 at night and getting to Lehigh Valley at 1 a.m. and then turn around the next day weighing in at like 9. So that was something that, I think was a little more challenging than we expected, but our guys showed up. We fought NC State hard. We made it a battle. We made it a fight. And we kept that perspective the rest of the season, and it paid off. We ended the season 8-7, with 4 of our losses coming to top 10 programs. So we're going to have another challenging schedule. We'll probably hit what might be the collegiate goals again, but I think in the end it pays off. Our guys seem to respond to challenges and adversity, and that's what you want out of your athletes.
All right, MAC Wrestler of the Year, Anthony Noto. MAC Wrestler of the Year, Anthony Noto, number 4 at 125 pounds. Finishing 4th. Obviously, you always want to win, but has that resonated yet? Has it sunk in, Anthony, that you are number 4 in America? I can't imagine that ever gets old hearing.
Yeah, it's sunk in. Not what I wanted, but it shows that all the work I've been putting in has been paying off on the mat. Just trusting the process that my coach has been putting me through. Shows that everything's falling together in the right place. So can't be more proud of my performance in that tournament.
Yeah, congratulations, Anthony. There's no doubt you gave it your all and was right there with everybody. And it's exciting to see you doing that. Again, the feeling you must have had going up on that podium must have been a thrill for you.
Yeah, it was. A lot of excitement. Me and my family were very happy with the outcome. So couldn't be more proud of myself.
What's it like though? You don't get to finish 4th. You don't get to be an All-American without having that in the back of your mind. I should have been a champion. Like what is the mindset when you're up there? Obviously it sucks to be 4th. You want to be 1st. But by the same token, there's countless kids that would give a limb to be 4th. What's that like? What's your headspace like when you're actually standing up on the podium? Is it like, I can't believe I'm up here, or I should be a couple of steps higher? What's that space like?
The first thing I thought was, wow, I can't believe I'm actually up here, because at the national tournament, it's the top 33 kids in the country that are there. So everybody there is good. I look at it that seeds really don't matter. Anybody's beatable. Your mind is your biggest opponent. That's the way I think of it is. I think that if you put in your mind that you are the best, you're going to beat those guys. So I think, but I wish I was a couple steps higher up on the podium. National champion, that's the ultimate goal. But, yeah, I think your mind's your biggest opponent. If you just put in your mind that you're the best and you believe in yourself, anything's possible.
Yeah, I also saw that you're part of have other honors for the MAC, academic honors. There's 5 of the Lockhaven wrestlers that had that. That's a lot of work along with that, Coach. What's your attitude as far as the academics to go along with the athleticism of the students?
It's about discipline. It's about consistency. It's about showing up every day, just trying to work hard and be better. And academics goes hand in hand with athletics. And the guys that are doing well and putting the time in the wrestling room usually have their lives in order. They're structured. They live a clean lifestyle, and they take academics very seriously. So that's kind of what we preach here at Lock Haven. And we're proud of those guys that were able to get it done in the classroom and lead by example. And obviously those guys are competing hard, wrestling. They're great partners in the room. They're a big resource for our program as well. So, yeah, the academics are important. You want to do both. And, I believe Anthony Noto, academic All-American, MAC academic honors, NCAA All-American. He's doing it all. So he's a guy that can work. He's a leader in our program and a guy that we want everybody to follow.
Well, it's helpful for recruiting too. On that note, when the parents see you have that concern with those type of things too.
Yeah, it does, and it's a selling point. It's the parents they appreciate that extra effort, but it's about guys just maturing, believing in the process, and just investing in themselves. Ultimately, the time you invest in yourself, no one can take that away from you. So if you're disciplined in that regard, your time management and your study skills and your communication with professors, that's an attribute that no one can take away from you.
Anthony, I wanted to ask you because obviously you finished fourth. You got another year to go. How much time do you enjoy this year's accomplishment versus getting to work and realizing if 4 feels this good, what first must feel like?
Yeah, it felt pretty good. Ultimate Goals National Champion. I celebrated for a day, and then I got right back to work. Started lifting and training again. I mean, you got to have that mindset that you can't just drill on that win and just keep celebrating because you ain't going to get better doing that. So.
Scott, one last question before we let you guys go. You now are, obviously, I'm, kidding with the record. It's probably one of the toughest non-conference schedules that anybody in America wrestled. What do you do now? Because this is now the new norm at Lock Haven. It'd been you hadn't had an All-American since 19, but this is the program that you've created. And, you set your own bars, and, of course, your expectations are probably higher than anybody else's. How do you make sure there is no drop-off? How do you continue on that path in this, transfer portal, ridden world where, here today, gone tomorrow? How do you make sure that your program, continues on the trajectory that it's on?
It's important to lead by example for, myself, my coaching staff, lead by example every day, show up to work, set the expectations high, and show these guys what it takes to get to the next level, but also encourage and motivate them, and just putting good people around the program, whether it's alumni, whether it's workout partners, recruits, putting the right people around our athletes, and finding that happy medium between the balance between work and play, and making sure the guys on our team are enjoying the process, because it can get to you. A lot of guys burn out. A lot of guys lose faith in themselves. But our coaching staff does a good job of just encouraging, keeping it light, but also setting the expectations high and challenging our guys to believe in themselves and to do better. So we've had a good run over the last 5-6 years and developed a lot of All-Americans, had a lot of success stories, and Anthony knows just another guy that has bought into the system, has the belief system, has the drive and the ability. And it's great to see guys like him reach the podium, knowing that, the ultimate goal is a national championship. So yeah, it's a grind, but there's not a better place to be than Lock Haven. And we're able to give our guys that extra confidence and just knowing that we're here every day, just putting the work, leading by example, and challenge them to be better and to expect to be on the podium. So excited to see where this puts us moving forward. And, we're ready to take the next step and get a few guys on the podium next year and win our third MAC conference in a row next year, and continue to do great things and continue the tradition that's been Lock Haven Wrestling and we have the right guys that are around us and the right role models in our program, and it's going to be an exciting trip.
Congratulations, Anthony.
to
What a year, buddy. Good stuff.
Thank you.
you. Very good.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
All right, we are rolling along as we continue this Maction postseason wrap-up as Coach Ludwig is joining us, head coach at Northern Illinois. You got yourself an All-American, another winning season. The Huskies just kind of keep on rolling, chugging along. I don't believe we've ever chatted, so we've got a lot to get to. Congratulations on another All-American. Congratulations on a good regular season, Coach.
I appreciate the coverage of the Mid-American Conference. And, yeah, I mean, obviously as a conference, every team is growing and getting, bigger and stronger every year. So we really want to expand the footprint of our conference throughout the country. And I think all the coaches and the student athletes are doing a great job of that.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was exciting to watch, to have the 4 All-Americans compete, finish out this year and exceed their seeds, with the 12th place seed for Isaac, but he ended up 8th. That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think you're, the days of everything going to chalk are far behind us, especially with some of the, the formulas and whatnot of the way that some of these seeds pan out. But, in order to do something big, you're going to have to, overachieve on some level. So I think these guys really, just a number by your name. If you're in that bracket, everybody's 0-0 that weekend, and that's the way you got to bring your mindset into it. And I think all 4 of those guys did a fantastic job, among others who maybe just fell short or, even qualified and overachieved in that realm.
Right.
Coach, I'm curious because this ongoing, portal world that we live in, and, now we've got Olympic year coming up and opt-outs. When you're on the recruiting trail, is it as simple as you may not love me now, but you might love me later? Hey, don't lose my number, pal. If things don't work out, call me back. How different is this? You've been around a while. How different is the recruiting world in 2023 than say in 2017?
Yeah, there's a lot of flying around, and it's always existed. But now I think these guys have a lot more in their face. They have a lot more to I guess mull over or look at, or all these social media posts about guys moving around. They have a lot more just to look at outside of themselves, outside of their own program, outside of what everybody's doing in their own wrestling room, because it's not too different, I'd imagine, from place to place. But they have a lot more distractions, a lot more things to look at, and a lot more options to move around than back in the day, where it was more of I got to self-reflect and figure out what I have to do to get to the next level, and how can I get better on all areas of myself. So certainly you do end those phone calls if you don't win the recruiting battle initially. Hey, if things don't work out, you can always think about whatever your next move is, but hopefully that doesn't happen. You like to see everybody kind of finish out where they're at and those kind of things. But the reality of the world is that the portal exists. It's getting more and more populated every year. And so, you just provide the best product you can, and you work with the guys the best you can, and everybody moves forward and, gets their guys to the show and does the best they can every year. And all you can really do about is do the best for your guys, care about them, and provide them with the best experience possible. And I think everybody in the MAC's doing that. Everybody in the country's doing that. And everybody's got to make their decisions for their own individual reasons, and everybody can live with that.
Likewise, Coach, we talked last week real quickly about things, because obviously Clarion came by one of your wrestlers, but you were very excited for Will too at the same time, Feldkamp, that he was an All-American, but he was there to begin with.
Yeah. We, Will was with us, and he graduated, and so did Isaac. Isaac graduated. So, we were happy for Will. He was at a situation here at NIU where we had Britt Wilson, who ended up being an All-American for us at 84, and a guy named Gage Braun, who was a qualifier at 97. So once he graduated, was able to find a new spot. And, boy, we celebrated Will's All-American championship or All-American run with him. Heck, Clarion's Clarion's little station, little camp at NCAA's was right by ours, and I think boy, we talked to him every day, multiple times. So we were extremely happy for him and his family. We're still very close.
Yes, good people, good people.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, and this is not I don't want to set this up to Isaac, but we sort of started with the portal, and it's a good thing for some and a bad thing for others. I think the Division I basketball portal has over 1,200 kids in it. Roughly a quarter of all Division I basketball players are in the portal. Is this by and large better or worse for the sport of wrestling moving forward? I thought Quanzo Martin, the Missouri basketball coach, had a great statement about kids are now really able to run from any adversity. Are we preparing them to deal with being a grown-up? And I'm not specific to anybody in particular, but by and large, is the portal good or bad for your sport?
I think it's good for each individual athlete. They have to do what they have to do on an individual level, and the portal exists, and it is what it is, and we have to adapt to making it work for us and find a way to make it a positive impact on our programs. And that's really all there is to it. There's no use, I guess, stomping your feet and saying, I don't like this thing, or whatever the case may be. You find a way to, understand how it can help you and make the necessary adjustments to get better from it. And that's really what we're going to do. And that's the only way to approach it.
Coach, I do want to talk a little bit about the Nationals itself, because, Isaac was in such a tough weight class with three former champs and Kenny Monday, Amin, and just legacies that were all throughout there. But to finish, in the place he did, what an accomplishment for him too.
Yeah, incredible accomplishment. I think by and large throughout the year, 165 was I think the topic of conversation as far as the most competitive weight class with the most returning high placers and those kind of things. So to have that run and find your spot on any 8 of those stairs this year was incredible. It's incredibly difficult in any year, but this year more so than others. So that coupled with the fact that he got a little nicked up in his MAC finals match and was able to overcome that after a good week of rehab, after the finals match. So, I mean, what he was able to do and put it together was just an incredible testament to his mental capacity and the way he was physically able to strategize his matches and find a way to have one more point than the other guy moving forward. So it was an awesome run. He did a fantastic job, and he's an incredible competitor, and that showed through in his tournament performance. And, with that being said, that weight class, I mean, we've always known he's a guy that can go, with any of those guys toe to toe. So it wasn't about, boy, look at all these guys. I mean, we knew he was among them. So you just got to win that battle in front of you, not look too far ahead. And he was able to stay focused. I think his day 2 was much better than his day 1. He was able to kind of, regroup mentally and just realize that, hey, I got to put this out there. I can't be kind of, taking care and trying to get cute with my, something that's bothering me physically. I'm going to get it all out there and push through it. And he was able to do that mentally. And I think that really helped him push through to get on the stand. So very challenging thing to do. Not everybody really understands what that takes, but it was an awesome performance by him all the way around.
Great.
Now, Coach, obviously, wrestling such a short off season. Whether it's in recruiting high school kids or re-recruiting your own roster or improving on, guys that are going to be back. How are things shaping up for you, roster-wise, schedule-wise for next year, or is it still a little too early to tell to put anything in pen?
No, it's shaping up really nice. I mean, our guys are back to work, lifting hard, training hard during their couple weeks off. Where there was their rest period. Guys were in and out on their own all the time. You could see that. They were very self-motivated, which was great. And now it's back to work, and they're excited about this refreshing spring and those kind of things. We got some very strong youth in the program, so those guys are excited about their opportunities coming up, and the vibe is good. Everybody's excited. So, we're excited about our future here. We obviously, with our scheduling, the MAC takes care of itself. We think there's some really good strong programs in there and a lot of individual nationally ranked wins to be had up and down the dual meet schedule. And then outside of that, in our location, we don't have to go too far to find some of the toughest competition in the country. We're right in Big Ten country, so we can find a really good mix of Big Ten matches, max scheduling, and then, that provides our guys with a really good foothold of quality wins so that hopefully we can bring those AQ spots into our weight classes.
Right. Coach, as we talk about the recruiting and stuff, I do want to commend you because this is part of the parents coming in knowing is 7 MAC academic honors for the people, including Isaac. And that just shows all the All-Americans are academic, quality people too. So that's impressive too. You think that helps on your recruiting process?
Yeah, that is a huge help. I mean, let's face it. We live by the term student athlete, So I mean, that I think has really elevated our program as well. I mean, we take that very seriously on the recruiting trail. I mean, 2 years ago, Mason Kaufman, our 74-pounder, he was the Elite 90 award winner at the national tournament, which is the guy with the single highest GPA at the national tournament. That was a first not only for our program but for our entire university. So we're very proud of that. But our academic footprint here on our wrestling team is very strong. We make sure that that's vetted up front on the recruiting process, and we're looking for those like-minded individuals who have very big professional goals as well. And we think that translates over to success on the mat.
Dedication throughout. Yes, you're right.
Coach, I certainly appreciate you taking some time with us. Best of luck in the off season. Of course, are you going to compete at all? You got it with some of the spring tournaments, or you kind of just let everybody recoup and get ready for next September?
Nope, we had our little recruit period. Now we are in a training cycle, and we're going to get out to the U23 World Team Trials there and compete. We're going to take our RTC, our club, out there, and we'll have representation. So that's our next cycle to get some guys out there competing for some spots on some teams.
Best of luck. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Coach.
Hey, you guys, really appreciate what you're doing for the MAC, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Finally, we conclude our final MAC wrap-up with Coach Hangy and Ethan Laird, the 19th All-American in rider history, finishing 6th at 197. Ethan, I want to start with you. Congratulations, a spectacular career. You certainly did not disappoint anybody here in Edinboro or in New Jersey. Just marvelous career. And, we've talked to all these guys, and, unfortunately, I guess everybody we talked to has, had a loss. There's only a couple of guys that don't get to win their last match. What's it like now that you've had some time to digest? I mean, you were a kid that grew up in the shadow of Tim Flynn and Bruce Baumgartner. You go to Ryder to do your own thing. You certainly did not disappoint. Have you had enough time to fully digest exactly what you've achieved?
I'd probably say honestly no, but it's tough to go from being a kid in Edinboro that never really ever even dreamed or thought that being an All-American was possible. It seems so far out of something that could possibly happen that it wasn't even something that I would dream about, like growing up and whatnot. So from that aspect, I know eventually, I'll gain some perspective on it. But just this past year and the past couple of years, I've been so dialed in on accomplishing a little more than I did that it's still kind of weird to think about.
Well, I mean, just getting up and standing on a podium. I mean, I know you had the honors in 2020, but to stand up and get on that podium alone, what was the thrill there? So,
it was cool. It was a really cool experience. Just it kind of felt like all my hard work and all the time I put in, it wasn't for nothing. I came away with an All-American honor, and those just actually standing up on the podium, getting the award, it was a really cool experience.
We talked to Noto about, what it felt like. And, I want to ask you, what is that space like? I mean, are you up there, angry? You're not a couple, rungs higher? What's in your mind in that moment? Everybody sees it on TV, but what's it like between the ears as you stand there when they're announcing your name?
Well, since at that time, my career had been officially over and I was retired. I got a couple drinks before, settled down, and was able to enjoy it.
Good.
But yeah.
But we know that the other three are coming back, but you are at the end of your eligibility. So what are your plans now? We did talk a little bit the last couple of weeks ago about that, but do you have anything set in sight, or are you looking at some coaching possibilities?
Yeah, coaching is definitely what I want to do. I haven't really jumped into that whole process and done anything official yet, so still nothing there. But I definitely want to stick around wrestling, just be a part of the sport still, because that's what I love to do.
For life, you're right.
Coach Hangy, you've this has sort of become old hat for you, having an All-American. You've really established that's who the Broncos are on the mat. But now that you've had multiple, and you've had guys with some expectation, you've had some guys that were long shots that ended up coming through. What's it like for you sitting there in the moment? Does I'm sure each moment is separate, yet it's very similar, right?
That's exactly it. It never loses its wow effect, so to speak. And every kid is different, every journey's different, and yet it's still very similar because we know the work that goes into it, we know the sacrifice that goes into it from their end. And we know the desire that they want to win the whole thing. And, everybody, only 10 guys get to do that every year. But the satisfaction at the end for the kid accomplishing the goal is all the reward that we could ever ask for. And it's just so special for the young man to be able to attain that goal.
We're talking a little bit about recruiting and stuff, but what I've been trying to add is that you've had 5 MAC academic honors, 5 wrestlers win those honors along with Ethan. And what does that mean to the program and recruiting itself?
Well, it just means that we get well-rounded kids, and that's something that we're very adamant about. We'll pass on some talented kids that just don't do the right things, or we get some red flags on. And then when we get here, we try to make everybody be the good people, good character, do the right things academically. There's people slip through the cracks all the time, but it's not anything that we don't do to try to it's not done that where we try to make sure that the environment is correct and that the culture is correct and stuff like that. So it's really just about recruiting kids based on their character and their background and what we can find out about them, and then just molding them into our process, and then, forming and growing together, with the kid in the program, and then, hopefully success happens, and usually it does.
Very good. Yes, it does.
Now you've got some guys that are coming back that, the expectation will be very real next year. I'm curious to you, Ethan, if to your teammates, Mackenzie Bell, Quinn Kinner, where, the expectation will be to be on the podium. Is there something you would tell those guys to handle their business that you wish you could have told yourself? Have you learned something through this process that, maybe you thought you had figured out and then all of a sudden you didn't?
Honestly, this past year, I felt like I really was doing everything. I did put myself in a position to be a national champ. I just came up a little short. But as far as like advice to those guys, I know that helped me was because it's something that Hanji says. He says, every single day you're going to get, you get better, you get worse. There's no staying the same. And so once, I kind of really started taking that to heart, and it was every single thing I did in my life. Once that once preseason started in September, it was every single thing I did. I had to make a decision: is this going to move me forward or move me back? And I think that's one of the hardest things to do because it is such a grueling sport. You want to cheat on some things and whatever, but if you can really just zone in and just buy in 100% to everything you do, is either getting you better or getting you worse, and just trying to do as much things as you can to make yourself better in wrestling and just in your everyday life. And I think that's what helped me a lot, and that's what I would tell those guys too.
So, Coach, as we are seeing that, what's the next step for your wrestlers? They're back at it, I'm assuming, as everybody else, and you have some things going on in the springtime to keep them tuned up.
We're going to focus, we'll have individual meetings to kind of identify strengths, weaknesses, and areas we have to improve. That way everybody kind of has marching orders. We're also lifting weights, doing freestyle wrestling. So that's the normal process moving forward here in April. And then we give them off in May and then come back at it June, July. But to kind of piggyback off of the last question you had for Ethan, I think the biggest thing is you really just have to put yourself in position to be successful. And by doing all those things that Ethan just said, that's how you do it. And there's going to be days that you have, doubts or setbacks or whatever the case may be, but you just have to understand that you could do everything right. It could still not happen for you. So you might as well do everything right and roll the dice and play and see if it does work out for you, because Ethan was so good all year. He was 25-1 going in an NCAA tournament, seeded fourth. And he had to fight his tail off to win his first 3 matches just to get into the semifinals. And that's how tough that tournament is. And that's what these guys have to realize, that, yeah, you have talent. Yeah, you're doing everything right, but you got to make sure that it's, you hit it right too, because that weekend everything's based on that 3-day weekend. So it's, and we'll continue to do our process and we'll continue to talk to those guys, but those guys have the ability to accomplish what Ethan has just achieved, but it's not a 5-cent word. You don't throw it around like it's, something you can pick up at a grocery store. This is something that takes 24/7 devotion, for the remaining time that you have in eligibility. So it's a pretty important, lifestyle commitment.
Coach Hangey, I'm going to flip the script a little bit. We always talk to the athlete and what sort of impression the coach left with them or what they learned. So I'm going to ask you the other thing, because my goodness, Ethan's been there since the late 70s, I think. What's your takeaway from your time? What's Ethan taught you that's going to make you a better coach moving forward?
Ethan's taught me a lot. Mainly, Ethan's taught me how to coach and train the modern athlete. Ethan doesn't say anything unless it's very important. He just knows that there's a process. He knows that we have systems in place, and he buys into the system 100%. But if there's an individual situation where he feels like something has to be tweaked, or there's something we have to do different just for that, even for just that day, or moving forward, it opens my eyes and I think about it, and we evolve and we adapt a new way of going about it, at least considering different circumstances, because you do this for as long as, I have, you can get stuck in ruts almost as far as coaching. But athletes are changing every day and every year. And if you don't evolve with them or listen to them, you're going to really derail them from accomplishing their goals or reaching their potential. And I'll give you an example. Ethan's in his 6th year, which is a long time for a college wrestler to put your body through that, the wear and tear, emotionally, mentally, physically. We're going out to Oklahoma for a duel, and Ethan hits me with, I think I need a match off. And I said, and I listened to Ethan. Ethan doesn't just, say things to say things, or just never not wants to wrestle. I mean, he had a bad ankle in the South Beach duels as a freshman, and I didn't know it till after the tournament was over, because he didn't let me know, because he wanted to just keep his mouth shut and wrestle, which just tells you what Ethan's all about. But he came to me and said, I'm starting to get run down a little bit. And
So I get put in a situation and immediately I say yes, because I'm about protecting my best athlete and making sure that it's March that we're geared towards and not a dual meet match or a dual meet with Oklahoma that, is immediate in front of us. You have to look at the big picture. And I think that's what Ethan has done for me, to be up to speed with the modern athlete and look at the big picture versus, hey, we can't let our best kid sit. We got to go beat Oklahoma. And I think that's kind of a big learning lesson for me as an aging coach.
Very good. Congratulations, though, on what you've done this year. Both Coach, you and then Ethan, what a great career.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Congratulations, Ethan. And again, it's quite the journey, and yours, thanks to COVID, a little bit longer than most. But
Yeah.
I think that it speaks volumes to be as dedicated, as it needs to be to be a Division I wrestler, but the dedication is not. I mean, it's at this point, it's not talent. It is work. There's not many guys. The talent gap is not that large, but the effort for 6 years, and to be quite frankly probably at the pinnacle at the end is a achievement that I think as you get older you will learn to appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate the time, gentlemen. Thank you. Congratulations again, and best of luck. I'm sure you'll be pretty good at whatever you choose to do next, Ethan.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
The plan is for him to be coaching Ryder. That's the plan.
There we go.
All right.
go.
Thank you,
Yep.
guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Good
I
night.
appreciate it.